Revealing the silent soul killer. So recently we've been doing these sunrise sessions, and I've been coming to this beautiful spot early morning and sharing whatever comes in the moment. This morning I was up at 4:44 as normal, and as there's a setting. The first thing that appears is a setting, and usually what's happening is that the little me, the I, the person, if there's any trace of it, has woken up, dissolves and disappears very quickly. But today there was a feeling, not a feeling, just like there was a feeling of this, like, just this wave of energy that was flowing through, a beautiful, blissful energy, you could say. But there was a feeling in the solar plexus that the solar plexus, there was like a blockage or a holding or a something that was blocking is not the right idea. It was kind of like it was tempering this energy. It was not letting it be expressed fully. It was kind of like it was holding this blissful energy, was holding around the solar plexus area. So the thought arose to investigate this, and through investigations, it came to the realization. The realization was come to that this was the energy of shame, the silent soul killer, shame. And so there's been a lot of work today. It's 12 o'clock now as we record this live, and there's been a lot of work of going in on this silent soul killer, going in on this and seeing and feeling what this is, and where does this shame come from. And so a lot of work and a lot of sitting and a lot of recognizing where it came from, and there's so many sources for it, but we might go into that. But more importantly, it was this energy of shame is like a soul killer. It like squeezes the seat of the soul, not in truth, but in the human experience. The energy of shame really just closes down the soul, the true vision, the being, the real being is closed down by this energy of shame. And so it was strange for it to appear today. And again, it was only experienced as an energy. The kind of naming of it came afterwards, and this idea of this silent soul killer, because the energy of shame it's very subtle, it's sneaky, it's subversive, it's under the surface. It's not so obvious as some other feelings or emotions, but it's kind of like that under the surface thing. That's why we call it that silent. And then the soul killer, because it really envelops, even though it's silent and subversive and under the cover, it was the way it was experienced. It was like the vitality, the life force, the joy, the bliss of the being was being, again, it felt like tempered in a way. It felt like there was just like there is this unlimited wave of bliss, of this beauty of life itself was flowing through the being. And this was like a thermostat, really closing it down so it wasn't experienced in that way. So that's why we were sharing the silent soul killer. And so the investigation was like, because there isn't anything obvious as to why that was appearing in this setting this morning. And so then there was I was shown so many different things. So the first thing, I was born into the Roman real estate cult. So the Roman real estate cult, it's a very, very well-known real estate cult around the world. And they deal in two types of real estate. One is the real estate of souls, and the other is the real estate of structures that they place upon sacred sites. You've probably been in one, or you've probably seen one. You may or may not know that they are in the real estate of your soul, owning your soul through your birth certificate. I'll just leave it there. So the Roman real estate cult is built on shame and guilt. You're born dirty. You're born in sin. You're born with the need to repent of your sin, of being born. Your sin is being born, and you're born into this cult, and so they think they own your soul, and and other real estate. But guilt and shame are oh my God, this is hilarious. I didn't even notice this. I'm not going to turn it around, but I'm actually just looking and hadn't noticed that part the other way around. I'm looking at one of these structures that is built over a sacred site. Uh, I could just have a little fun. We have to have fun. So guilt and shame is built into this. You're born dirty. You need to repent of your sins. You need to do something to be freed. You need to do something to be forgiven, and whatever. All this. So guilt and shame is built in. So just by being born, you got some guilt and shame built in because you've been born into the Roman real estate cult. Now, I have looked into many other philosophies and religions, but I don't know so much how much I can't speak to it directly as to how much other kind of philosophies and religions have that. But to some degree, all of them have it. Even the most higher evolved ones, all have the premise that you need to do something to become better. You need to follow this to become holy, to become enlightened, to become free, to become liberated. So it might be more overt in the Roman real estate cult, but in others, there's always the idea that they exist for the very reason to put a middleman, generally, between you and the divine, and this is the way. And if you come through this way, or this God, or this idea, then you can free yourself from the guilt of shame of being that being that was born in sin, being that was born imperfect. So that was one of them that was uncovered. I mean, that's not new, but just realizing that there's still traces of that there. You can imagine, so some of these groups say if they have a child for the first 7 years or something, they think they have them for life. That's one of their sayings, and that was before the age of information, and it was probably quite true for a lot of that. But now democratization of information has allowed more awakening to the truth. But anyway, so that was one source of shame, and then so you can imagine generations of beings born into these cults, born into these religions, born into these things, where that is handed down not only through the religion, but then handed down through parenting, through trauma, through all of the things that go hand in hand with guilt and shame, the secondary effects of the Roman real estate cult and all of those other things. Then they're handed down through parents, through teachers, through pretty much all authority figures, and pretty much most Western governments are based on the principles of this as well. You have in America innocent until proven guilty, but that's been turned on its head. It's nice in principle, but you're seeing more and more. It's guilty until proven innocent, and the society, you have to prove yourself as worthy to be able to just survive in a society. You have to prove yourself in some way. So there's always something you have to do, something you have to prove to be approved of, or to be saved, or to become part of. And so that was there was a noticing of that culturally, educationally, and then so the secondary things that come off that is then the shame of pleasure. So again, this is very Roman real estate cult. It's got a lot to answer for, those little rascals. Shame in pleasure, shame in having, shame in celebration of beauty, of sexual connection, of prosperity, of wealth, of abundance, of all of these are shrouded with shame. This really is the silent soul killer. And so, yes, these are secondary based off this underlying principle that we're born in sin, we're born in some way lacking. And so there were so many ways, and it was like really interesting to see like all of these ways in which guilt and shame are in the society, in the cults, in the religions, in the philosophies, and some are so subtle, and some are just built into the society, and they're unquestioned assumptions. And so this is another soul killer, is to unquestionably follow the assumptions of your society, of your religion, of your caste, of your community, it kills your soul, because the nature of the soul is freedom. The nature of the soul is pure freedom, pure creativity, pure abundance, pure prosperity, pure pleasure, pure love. And so this shame is one of these, like, and I really like this subtle, silent soul killer, because it squeezes, and it's like, this is, firstly, you're not good enough, and then if you can even, and then even if you feel you're feeling not good enough, then some of the pleasures and the joys and the love that you can experience, and then they become shrouded with the secondary effects of this. It's shameful to be wealthy. It's shameful to enjoy sexual union. It's shameful to be successful when others are not. It's shameful to be whatever. All of these things that are intertwined and intermingled with in these secondary silent soul killers. And so it's so interesting to see, even how many years and years of work, to see that was there. I mean, again, there wasn't a feeling of anything necessarily. It was just an energetic feeling. And then it was when I went in to feel it, or went in to see it, that's where it came. And so less and less, I'm sharing. Of course, I've talked for 11 minutes about this, and talked a lot about the reasons, but the reasons don't really matter, and the source of them don't matter, especially these things. What is the core is, whenever it's revealed, rather than staying in the story, even though, again, I've stayed in the story, I like having a bit of fun, and I like poking a little fun, and but it's not always fun to experience these things. In fact, shame is never fun. Shame is it is a distorted. It's in a distorted energy, and that's distorted from a healthy, positive human uh, expression, which is regret. So regret is a natural emotion where we do something that we may not have intended, that we didn't mean, and then we realize subsequently that it didn't work, let's say. It didn't work. And regret allows us to make different decisions in the future. Shame is the distorted version of the healthy energy of regret, which means we punish ourselves forever for whatever. For whatever it is, we punish ourselves repeatedly. Humans are the only beings on planet Earth that make a mistake or do something wrong and punish themselves for, not always life, but for multiple times for one mistake. If an animal does something and it hurts itself, it just doesn't do that thing again. when a human does something and it hurts itself and it doesn't work, it keeps trying to do it. It keeps butting its head up against it. Or if it does it once and it was sufficiently painful, it will beat itself up and repeat that pain continuously over life. That pattern will stay continuously, rather than using the natural energy of regret to say, this happened, this did not work, try something else. So yes, the healthy energy of regret is distorted into the energy of shame, and that energy of shame is used to control, manipulate. It's used to keep people down, to keep people in a low. It's a low vibratory state. So regret, there's nothing. Regret is a natural thing, but shame is a distortion of regret. And so again, rather than focusing on where it came from, I just shared that for my own investigations. And I don't always do that, but it just happened to, like, I used to do that a lot and get to the bottom of it, but less and less that matters. It might help someone here, possibly, maybe not, or maybe it's just for the energy to flow out here. But less and less it's important where it came from, more what is truly liberational, what is truly transformational in a permanent way, not the temporary transformation, is allowing that energy to be seen, allowing it to be felt, and allowing it to move through. Not to question it, not to make a identity of it, not to make too big of a story. Again, 14 minutes I've been telling a story about it, but it is for the purpose of, if shame or anything appears in your life, it is appearing, it's coming to pass, not to stay. It's appearing so that you may feel it. So the bypassing and the spiritual bypassing is to just put it aside, don't feel it, forget about it. It's not. It doesn't exist. But this is this is the way it's like just giving it space, feeling it, allowing yourself to feel whatever it happens to be. In this case, the silent soul killer, shame. Allow yourself to feel the shame and allow it to move through, and it will move through. When we don't have a story, when we don't have an attachment, when we don't have a specific aversion to it, or an attachment, or a clinging to it, it will, if we give it space, allow it to be felt, it will move through. And it may not be the same for everyone, but the way I experience this, wherever the energy is usually lower in the body, I experience when it's given space that the energy rises up and comes out the energy body. So our energy field is like a torus field. So you've got these fields of energy, and then that energy can just be completely dispersed into another form of energy, or it can be transmuted into another form of energy and come through, or it can just be completely dispersed from your experience. Energy is neither created or destroyed, it's only transformed or transmuted. And so all this to say that if you are experiencing any of these, what we would call lower, and it's important, that distinction of like regret and shame. There's a very big difference there. Regret is very healthy, shame is destructive. And the way it was experienced as well as like, so that torus energy is like, it's not just like a two-dimensional, it's like it's going up here and two, it's three-dimensional. It's like we're at the center of a sphere and energy is going out of us in all directions and coming back in all directions. And it was that energy of shame was like really like squashing that and holding that in a certain way and like suffocating it. It's suffocating the silent soul killer shame. Love the alliteration. So it's important to, if lower vibrational experiences, emotions are appearing in your field, you don't necessarily need to go find out where they come from or why. The why of them is not important most of the time. Sometimes it will appear, sometimes it won't. What is important is you allow yourself to feel it and then allow it to move through. Because we can also allow ourselves to feel it and then want to tell a story about it and then want to make myself a victim or a victor over it. We just want to the invitation here is to allow yourself to feel it, not bypass, not try and wish it away, not try and talk it down. Allow yourself to feel it and allow it to be on its way, because it has come to pass. It has not come to stay. So today we have revealed the silent soul killer, which is shame. There are many other variants of this mind virus that experiences itself as emotion and feeling in the body. And so the invitation is just to allow whatever is appearing in your experience to be felt without bypassing, without trying to deny it, and also then without holding on to it through story, through trying to say that we've overcome something, or making a story, or making a deal or a drama about it, or making an 18-minute video about it. But really the purpose of this is to maybe, possibly, assist someone that may be challenged with this energy of shame. That is the intention here. And the intention is simultaneous as I experience this, and I feel benefit from this recognition, alliance, and release. The energy is released, not with doing anything. I've not done anything. I've not released anything. It's the hold that it had was released. It released. I didn't release anything. We don't let go of these things. It lets go. When we are not unconsciously keeping them in our field through fear, through aversion, through clinging, through poor me, through victim, through spiritual ego, whatever it happens to be, it lets go. It wants to go. They're not hanging around. These energies don't. The nature of energy is to move, and so that stuck, stagnant energy of a lower vibrational nature, it circles within itself. It's like a whirlpool inside our energy field, inside our body, and it's, instead of being generative and outward facing, it's inward and destructive. And so shame is a really silent, sneaky, under the surface one. So this is all to say that I trust that this can serve someone. And for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, I open this space so that it may serve someone as it is serving me. Okay, let's leave it there. So today we have revealed the silent soul killer, shame, and a way in which this or any other lower vibrational energy can be moved through your being, leaving the space for the bliss of your being, the truth of your being, the perfect, pristine perfection that you are, born as perfect. You're not born again, you're born perfect. We are perfect. In truth, we are never born. But these bodies are perfect, this life is perfect, all of the supposed ills and wrongs of the world are perfect. You're perfect. You've never been anything other than perfection itself, appearing as the imperfection called human. And the human is perfect. Thank you for being. Thank you for allowing this space. And until next time, from my heart to yours, the divine in me sees, loves, and honors the divine in you. Namaste. We are